some entity or a group of people, they buy successful things, and then they let all of these lunatics inside, and then they destroy it while pumping out their agenda, their propaganda, and their astroturf. And then they move on to the next thing that people like you built.
I was gonna ask, what are your thoughts on just the gaming industry, gaming press, just the gaming industry as a whole?
It's a symptom of the overall problem. There's got a bunch of people who pretend that they're selling you something, whether it's mortgages or video games, but that's not the person really selling it to you. It's the corporation, whoever owns Kotaku, whoever bought Kotaku from that dude who started it. Like they run things, and they've got interests, and you can circumvent. Like you can, if you're a crappy game developer, that a crappy game is coming out, you just go behind and pay that person off, and then have Kotaku regurgitate this nonsense, and then they all circle jerk each other while the rest of us are playing. We've dumped $70 on a crappy game, and I'm sitting there going, "This is something that permeates our entire society."
I feel like there's been a lot of the, you talk about the state of society as a whole, right? I feel like a lot of this has devolved based off of people's, and you've kind of touched on this, but the fear of saying something, the desire to be nice to people, not want to hurt people's feelings, and ultimately what happens is, you have outlets in the gaming industry, what are gaming press, Polygon, Kotaku, etc., that ultimately are infiltrated by people, ultimately by people's niceness, because they don't want to offend somebody, right? They don't. The boss didn't want to offend them, so they're going to bring them on. Whatever. They don't want to be called a istophobe, whatever. And ultimately, then once the what's the old saying? The fox is in the hen house, and then all of a sudden it kind of devolves from there. Do you feel like that's a I don't know? Your thoughts on that as far as gaming, not even gaming press, just the media as a whole?
Well, I think what has happened is that you go back 100 years ago, and you could see the evolution of like television, right? And so nobody took television seriously at first. Television was like some sort of niche, and it was just kind of like a novelty, and everyone was like, no, this isn't going to replace radio. This isn't going to replace radio. Everything's fine. And then TV becomes gigantic, and then TV gets and so gigantic means it's also useful as a weapon. And so it can get hijacked by people who want to utilize television as well. It's getting billions of eyeballs a minute, and then television gets dwarfed by. When I was a kid, the movie industry blew up. We're the generation of blockbuster movies. I mean, you're talking about an evolution in movie ticket sales going through the roof, and the movie industry becoming its own, and then that gets hijacked. Well, video games are dwarfing what any of these things have ever done. And the industry, which was a joke 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, I remember every single person in my family, they come to our house for Thanksgiving, they come to our house for Christmas, and they'd be like, why is your kid playing a stupid video game? Like, this is why are they wasting their time? There's no value on this. There's no industry in this. There's no anything in this. And these people completely misunderstood what it was going on. And our generation has made video games an entity that far outpaces anything that Hollywood could do. And so that's now being hijacked. And just like I imagine radio was hijacked, and I imagine television was hijacked, or movies have been hijacked. Well, now video games are being hijacked, and they're being utilized. Anything that gets the attention of all of the youth, and becomes their content and their culture, is going to be hijacked by people who want to destroy a place. And so there's a reason why all of these positions have been opened up to these Kool-Aid haired morons who are insane, ravenous lunatics, because the delivery system of video games, with these people as the gatekeepers, these people as the functionaries, is going to make people is number one going to destroy video games. They have taken it over. They're going to destroy it by doing this, but they are altering culture, and they are changing entire generations' brainwave patterns with what they're doing. And so they're trying to normalize real stupid stuff, and using video games is their blunt force weapon.
Feel like that's kind of been the ultimately you want to I mean, it makes sense, right? If you want to have an effect on a larger scale, you want to talk to the youth, right? It's not about
Mhm.
what we think; it's about what the youth thinks coming up, right? Um, and it's an interesting thought process for sure. Have you, as you bring this out and you talk about number one, who do you feel is trying to infiltrate and affect and cause this change in culture?
I think I think there's just a group. I there's this great George Carlin clip where he talks about, these people aren't sending, like, there's no shadowy meeting where 12 people get together, that are doing this, and they, have a minutes memo and everything like this. But there are like-minded interests operating at a very high level, who are all moving in the same direction, and they don't need contracts with each other. They don't need to These people are all hanging out with they all go to the same parties. They're all on the same golf cart courses. They're all on the same yachts. And these people, they don't necessarily care about these are all ungodly rich people, and what they're interested in is something higher than money. And I think that these people are interested in control. They're control freaks, massive, massive, massive control freaks. And so they want to micromanage. If they get off on micromanaging hundreds of millions of people. And so these people get together, and you can change an entire industry by just tweaking a little bit of how the money comes into it. The money comes into it, or now you've got a whole electric wired fence of ideology. And that, with money, all of these places are doing real stupid stuff because they're getting diversity, equity, and inclusion grants from the federal government, and they're getting loans, and there's a cash infusion that your average consumer is not seeing at the when you're buying a game on Steam. You're not seeing all of these interactions that are going on, but in the background, these companies, they're being told you can get X amount of money if you hire this person who's based on their skin. Real stupid stuff that we were all supposed to be shaken away from. Don't discriminate. Don't hire somebody based on their skin color. Don't hire somebody based on their sexual orientation. Don't discriminate against somebody for the same things, obviously. But now they're openly doing it. They're writing grants. They're getting money for this. And then once you let a diversity officer into your corporation, they now own your corporation, because then it sends a chilling message through everybody's cubicle that you better be on board and you better be in line. Because you can argue with anybody in that corporation, but you argue with that diversity officer, you're going to get fired. Not only are you going to get fired, but then you're going to get blacklisted on LinkedIn. You're going to get blacklisted in the entire industry. And that's what's driving all of this nonsense. You got a bunch of this is a chilling effect that's going on, and it's very easy to control big companies like this by just one office.
Yeah, as you've talked about this, people. The one thing you hear all the time is, you get called, like I said, the istophobe, whatever,
Mhm.
right? And you said something like, we were taught. I go by, the MLK message, right? You judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, right? And I definitely feel like that's been lost. Just from personal experience, after 2020, there's the summer of love and all that stuff. I was with a company, and and what was amazing was the total fracture that appeared. I'm just a dude, right? I'm just a guy. I think I'm just like everybody else, right? Been pretty lucky, been pretty fortunate in doing what I've been doing, but I can relate to people. And I always mention that. And my business partner at the time, he's like, "No, you can't. No, you're like, what are you talking about? You're not the common man, right?" And when 2020 hit, that's where I saw the divide of like what my thought of the common man is, and that is people who have thought the same way for pretty much the entirety of Earth's existence up until about 5 seconds ago, and the other common man who wants to jump on the trend and put signs up and protest and all that stuff. Right, that's fine. But it was interesting to see kind of that permeate in the gaming space so quickly, and you saw brands that were extremely welcoming, the most welcoming community online, completely disavow an entire section of their audience if they voted a certain way. And that doesn't seem very welcoming to me. It just seems extremely hypocritical. And that's something I've never really kind of been able to get past, because I don't judge people based off of who they vote for, or who they don't vote for, or who they want to sleep with, or what color they are, or whatever. If they're good people, they're good people. And I just feel like that should be how you treat people. But I was demonized for thinking that way. And I think that's just the most backwards way you could possibly think.
Yeah, it's regressive, and it's gonna stifle. Like I can't imagine that when you were running Screw Attack, you're sitting there going, "Well, hold on a second, got to make sure that you vote a certain way."
Right? Never discussed.
Anything. You sit there and you say, "What do you bring to this company? What do you bring to our culture? What do you bring to our productivity?" And that's how you build something. And you let these people, you hire smart, and you hire people that are going to meld well with what you're trying to do. And that's all been thrown out. That's all been thrown out. And now there's quotas. It's madness. It's insane to see. Again, being raised in California, that you were told don't be colorblind, and it makes sense, or you're told to be colorblind, and everything that we were told, that I made such a better, more cohesive. Someone's gonna say, "Well, better for you because you're a straight white male." I think it was better for everybody when I mean, the early '90s. There was much more harmony in this world, and you didn't have these destroyed areas. You got for all of this this platitude of all these people waving their signs, all these people with their BLM fists, with all of this stuff. Every Black community in my area is completely destroyed. There's no CVS, there's no Targets, there's no Walmarts. Everything's locked up. This very civil rights progressive movement that's mostly peaceful has destroyed all of these areas, and they're going to continue destroying. This is a group of people who've never built anything. All these people who've taken over, the people who've taken over, they are, somebody comes in, some entity or a group of people, they buy successful things, and then they let all of these lunatics inside, and then they destroy it while pumping out their agenda, their propaganda, and their astroturf. And then they move on to the next thing that people like you build. You guys build incredible stuff that changes the trajectory of the internet. And then these fucking people come in who've done nothing. And they come in with their feelings, and they come in with all they've done is sit in a college education room being force-fed stupid Marxist propaganda. And then they take this and they implement this into this body of creation that far more intelligent and creative people have built, and then it all falls apart. Not a single one of these places is better off with the mentality and attitude of these left-wing lunatics. And I mean that in the nicest of all ways. There's
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Would greatly appreciate that, so you can find more clips on the channel. And of course, come join us live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time for our live Side Scrollers podcast. We would love to see you there.